6 o'clock news starts now on Fox 12 Oregon.
Hi, my name is Bob Mandello, and I am with Channel 12 News. And today, I'll be interviewing a very famous dead man that goes by the name of L. Ron Hubbard. Here he is. Great to be here on Channel 12 News. And Mr. Hubbard, you've really changed over the past 60 years. Yes. So let me ask you, Mr. Hubbard. Call me Ron. Okay, Ron, when were you born exactly? I think I was born March 13th in Tilden, Nebraska. Who were your parents? My dad was Harry Hubbard, and my mom, what was her name? Ladora Hubbard. That was my mom. Did they have any occupations? My father, he was an officer in the Navy, so yeah, pretty interesting life. Very interesting, Ron. Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, but I've read up a little bit on your childhood. Yes. What I've read doesn't really seem to add up at all. The Church of Scientology claims that you could ride a horse before you could even walk. Is that true? And they also claim that you could read and write perfectly by the age of 4. They said you can even write better than your mom, who was a school teacher. If I'm honest, Ron, I really don't feel like you're telling the truth. I have it all right here. Based on the research of many psychologists' studies on childhood brain development, they say it's not even possible. Well, that's their opinion. I mean, your mother even came out and said none of this is true. She just said you were a normal kid with a large imagination, so I don't know what you're saying. The contents and experience of my life is way too vast for the normal person to understand, so you wouldn't understand any of it. Then? Did you have any siblings as a child? No, I'm an only child. I didn't have a lot of friends either. I travel a lot, you know. Could you tell me why you moved a lot, Ron? My father was a military man, like I said before. So he was stationed from, what's the word? Facility to facility. Must have been lonely without any siblings or friends, Ron, wasn't it? Yes. What were your early school years like, Ron? I mean, I looked them up, but I didn't seem to find anything else but lies from the Church of Scientology. I like to keep my high school days in the past, if you know what I mean. So there's nothing known about your early school years? You don't even remember anything? Yes. How about your college days? I'm sure you could tell me a little bit about that. Sure, I attended George Washington University, where I studied civil engineering. Pretty radical. I also did nuclear physics, but I ended up dropping out because that was way too easy for me. For a mind like mine, too easy. That's kind of odd because it says right here on your school record that you dropped out of school because you never showed up and you had very poor grades. Where did you get my school record? Ron, quit dodging the question, okay? Just tell me the truth. Those are obviously fake records. They just want to make me look bad. Sure, Ron. Okay, did you have any hobbies after college? I mean, what do you
Yes,
do?
actually. Sometimes I write short stories in my free time, and I used to pan gold in Alaska, but wasn't making much of that, the money.
That's actually very interesting, Ron. That actually sounds believable. Did you do anything before you started up Scientology? Like anything at all?
Back in my college days, I used to write for a Pulp Fiction magazine, okay? And each story I published, I made about a cent a word, which is a solid income for a young lad like me. But eventually, I ended up following my father's footsteps, and I joined the Navy, and I commanded two anti-submarine ships, but I had to retire because, well, I became ill. I developed arthritis and heart problems. I don't know how.
Okay, Ron, the world wants to know, did you have a special someone back in your day?
Actually, I was married to 3 different women. I have to look at the sheet because I don't remember their names. Margaret Grubb, Sarah Northrop, Hollister, and Mary Sue Whip. Wonderful ladies, I'll tell you that. Most women I dated claimed I was a little bit too devoted to Scientology, so they ended up leaving me. But I did have several kids, though.
7 kids? That's a lot of kids, Ron. Can you tell me any of their names?
Too many to remember their names.
Okay. Anyways, can you tell me a little about your writing career? I know you wrote some good books.
I've written over 500 short stories and novels. Mostly, though, I like to write some science fiction novels here and there, as you'll see from the most famous one being Battlefield Earth, which is made into an absolute phenomenal movie. I'll say so myself. But my greatest achievement is this book I wrote called Dianetics. It earned me, that's where I gained my fame, from Dianetics. It was #1 bestseller for New York Times. Over 500,000 people purchased the book. It was wonderful. Well, basically what Dianetics is, it's a machine that you're hooked up to. It's kind of like a medical procedure. And the idea is that in your body, a bunch of stress, sadness, and anxiety is built up inside your brain, and you can't get rid of it because it's still in there. Heck, you might even know it's there, but eventually it will release you in the future. Well, this machine, it sets an electrode through your body, and it will eliminate all the sadness, anxiety, and everything else in your brain, making you live a very happy life. And basically, the book goes over why it should be done, how it can benefit your health, and just why it's great overall.
Does that actually work, Ron? That sounds kind of interesting.
Of course, I developed it after all, although there's a slight downfall. You have to go over 1,000 hours of this procedure for it to actually work.
Geez, that's a long time, Ron. How much does it cost?
It's about $50 a session.
It kind of sounds like a cash grab. Okay. Anyways, I've done some research on this book you wrote that goes by the name of Excalibur. It was never published. Could you tell me a little bit about that, Ron?
Ah, Excalibur. One of my greatest masterpieces. It really was a shame it wasn't published. I promise you, it was going to be bigger than the Bible.
You said this book is going to be bigger than the Bible, Ron?
Of course.
How so exactly?
Well, basically, I got the idea of the book was when I died for 8 minutes while at the dentist office.
You died for 8 minutes?
Hey, could you stop interrupting me?
Continue.
So, as I was saying, I died at the dentist office for 8 minutes. And while I was dead, I heard these voices from forces unheard of. They told me everything there is to know about life, how we came to this planet, why we're here, and just the meaning of life in general. Okay, so me and the voices made a deal. I promised them I would develop a book of what they said. Okay, so therefore I developed the book Excalibur. It was easily just a phenomenal rundown of why we were here, and it is such a shame that it wasn't published by these 7 publishers.
So your novel Excalibur was about why we exist on this planet and how we were created, sort of like the meaning of life?
Exactly.
And you've heard this from forces unknown at your dentist office?
Yes.
Well, Ron, this is kind of a funny story. We got a hold of your dentist, and from what he said, you didn't actually die. He just gave you tranquilizers to ease the pain. And he said that you were most likely just hallucinating the entire thing, hearing these voices in your head. Like I said before, they're obviously scared of what I'm capable of. Okay, set aside from writing, do you do anything else? I am the founder of the infamous Church of Scientology, the greatest religion in the world. Okay, Ron, can you give me like a brief example of exactly what Scientology is? Of course, I'll just give you a basic rundown. So basically, Scientology is a belief that our great Lord Xenu was traveling from planet to planet. He picked up special beings called thetans, okay? And these beings were dropped here on planet Earth. Well, as they were dropped here on planet Earth, great Lord Xenu brought a bunch of nuclear bombs and dropped it on the thetans. And what that did, it blew the thetan particles all around the globe, okay? So we have these thetan particles that are spread all across the world. What happened was us humans, each particle sprouted a human. So each person has a little bit of thetan inside of them. And these